Challenger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Wednesday, the 28th of May, 2025. Sometimes, do you find sometimes you get it wrong? Sometimes you get it wrong. You think it's 2024, you think, because you're planning ahead, booking gigs for 2026, you think it's 2026, but it's actually 2025. Doesn't matter to me. As I think I mentioned before, I gained a year last year. I thought I spent all of last year thinking I was 47, and then lovely Julie Wood, many of you know, the manager of my favourite cinema, Cineplex St John, pointed out, because we are the same age, she pointed out, James, don't age us. We're actually 46 and 46. Anyway, so I spent all of last year thinking I was 47. So this current year that I'm in, is a bonus year. I've been gifted a free year on this planet. By 46 years, you get you get 1 year free. Anyway, so point being, I don't know what day, month, year it is. Let's go back to the beginning. The point is, it's Wednesday, the 28th of May, 2025 is the correct date. Which, of course, means that it is time for episode 57 of Manager's Weekly Ramble. I shouldn't be wasting time. I have to leave very shortly to fly to London. It was I'm going to see my mum and dad. It's my mum's birthday. I'm also have a pilgrimage this Saturday to go to the Vegas of the North, as no one has called it for about 60 years. Blackpool in the north of England. So yes, I am. This is a ridiculous endeavour. I'm driving a couple of hours to Moncton, to then fly in the opposite direction to Toronto, to then go back again on myself to get to London. Then 3 hours drive to my parents' place in Castle Cary. Spend a day there. Go to the beautiful Newt. If you don't know what the Newt in Somerset is, really one of the most gloriously Downton Abbey. Is that a good example? Well, it's an amazing story. In fact, you read about it the amount I made it. Google it. I haven't got time. I've got other things to talk about. I've got exciting things to talk about. Things closer to home. And then a day there, and then Saturday I got a 6-hour train from Castle Cary to Blackpool, and then pretty much the same back into London the next day. Anyway, has to be done. I need an ending for my new book, and I've always wanted to go to Blackpool. It sums up everything that is kind of what I think I love about life, like seasides and glitz and run-down glamour. I like shabby glamour. There's something odd about me. Well, something odd about me. My goodness. We know that, James. There's a lot odd about me, which, well, before I go any further, I should point out, this is the very first episode I've ever recorded shirtless. I am actually talking to you right now without a shirt on. Is that weird? I don't know. I'm worried now that I've made it weird. I hope I haven't made you uncomfortable. I do have trousers on, if that's any comfort. The weather is gorgeous, is the point. Well, I guess that's the point. The weather is absolutely gorgeous outside. And thank goodness, and I love this weather. Nothing makes me happier than the sun being out, even when I'm in a dingy, dark loft that is like a sauna. It's terrible when guests come and stay. My dad came to stay back this time last year, and had to sleep up here. And it's basically it's like a greenhouse up here, a bit like the dome at Yip Cider. So point being is that it's boiling hot. Where I record this podcast, it's the only place where it's quiet enough to record. But anyway, I do have the windows open, so sorry if you hear any traffic or any trains going by, and that's it. That's the only thing that ever happens outside. What's my point? I'm too hot, is my point, and because I'm about to get on 2 planes and then spend a day with my parents tomorrow. I'm basically not going to get a shower now. I've just showered for you. I've showered for you, so don't worry. But if I get too hot and sweaty now, then I've got to sit in that for 2 planes and 3-hour drive and then a day out tomorrow. Anyway, have I made it weird? Why am I even telling you? You can't even see me. It would be weird if you could see me and I was shirtless. Who would do that? Even Bert Kreischer doesn't record even The Machine doesn't record his podcast shirtless. So let's move on. Sorry, what have I talked about for 4.5 minutes? I really should stop this and start it again and make it good. But we're in it now. We're in it. And if you're still listening, then clearly we are very, very close. Thank you for letting me into it. I've had a very busy week, as per. I will go through my week. I've got some wonderful questions from you. I've also watched a lot of television. I've watched a lot of things. My kids have got me into the TV show The Rookie. Which is one of these, seemingly by numbers could almost be AI generated network TV shows, kind of like SWAT and everything else. And the premise is that a guy in his 40s has something of a midlife crisis and decides he wants to become a cop, and he's a rookie. But essentially, apart from that detail, it's pretty much the same as every other cop show out there. Like, I mean, that show Blue Bloods, do you remember that started off quite intriguing. And then after episode 9057 and a half, you realised it was the exact same plot, and those awful dinners around the table where Magnum PI would, espouse. It's funny, the dinner table conversation, or the dinner table, the way that it is conveyed in film and TV, especially kind of weekly TV serials, where nothing in films and movies and TV shows is real. I'm starting to realize, especially now I'm watching shows with kids. Have you noticed how recently there has been a massive spate of recreational / hard drug use played for laughs in shows? And it could just be the shows that I'm watching. I finished watching the Studio, Seth Rogen's The Studio last week, which I think maybe I talked about this. But absolutely hilarious. Bryan Cranston, obviously amazing to see Bryan Cranston, aka Walter White, playing such a ludicrously comedic character. He plays the owner of the studio. In the final couple of episodes, basically, long story short, Seth Rogen rolls out what he calls an old school Hollywood buffet that is basically chocolates laced with mushrooms that he hasn't labeled as such. I would have thought an old school Hollywood buffet would be, pills and lines of cocaine and things like that. Not chocolate with extremely strong. Anyway, not everything has to make sense, and this is the point with so many of these shows now. Even the comedic setups don't make sense. So, like, really, as funny as it was, but it was absolutely hilarious. And I did thoroughly enjoy those last couple of episodes, but it did seem rather ridiculous that someone would put out. Although I have obviously we've all witnessed this happen, where someone accidentally takes far too many mushrooms or eats too many weed brownies. Funny, isn't it, what we do to ourselves as human beings? How that we voluntarily do that to ourselves. Anyway, at the end of the way that they kind of get him to be able to stand up is there's a comedic set piece in which they are trying to push or force cocaine up his nose in order to get him lively and get him out onto a stage for the Bryan Cranston character. And again, as in typical studio fashion, there's a wonderful joke where it says, something like, let's flight his ass, let's Denzel Washington flight his ass, which of course is brilliantly typical of the studio, where it's like an obscure reference of a not particularly well-known film that only a movie buff would know. And in that film, yes, Denzel Washington plays a pilot who needs to testify in court, and he drinks the whole minibar. So the way they get him to straighten himself out is to give him cocaine, and so that's what they're referencing. And then in Hacks, I watched episode 9 of Hacks last night, which again, Hacks I do enjoy. It can frustrate me. Again, I get very annoyed in shows when people behave out of character just to propel the plot forward, and Hacks is slightly repetitious in its, I don't know if that's a word, repetitious, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Hacks, those of you who don't know, Hacks is a very good show that it can be hit and miss, but it's basically about it's fair to say, aging comedian, essentially a Joan Rivers character played by Jean Smart. You should have been watching it. It's on season 4. It's won lots of awards. And Ava is her young writer. Her name is Deborah Vance, the Joan Rivers character, and Ava is her young writer. And essentially, each season they battle, and at the end they kind of espouse share the fact that they can't live, work without each other, hug, and then the start of the season, something completely ludicrous will happen. And there's different characters. There's two agents. There are two agents in it who act as if they're in a completely different show, which is slightly removes you slightly from being invested in it. Anyway, there's things in the show that are just kind of ridiculous. Like, Ava is very sensitive. Almost, I can't tell if the show agrees with her opinions or if she is a comedic foil, and that she's supposed to represent, what people perceive to be the dreaded. It used to be millennial, and now it's Gen Z. Where they're offended by everything, and you've got to apologize for everything, and you can't say anything, and all that stuff. I can't tell whose side the show's on. Maybe neither. Anyway, the show can be frustrating. What's my point? Yes, in last night's episode, the same thing happened. Someone got drunk, a TikTok star, and they needed her to. They needed to get her lively to get onto the show. Exactly the same thing, onto the stage, onto the show. So they're trying to force cocaine up her nose. And I just thought, well, what has brought this on? That this is, and then now, of course, some of these shows you're watching with your kids, and I'm having to say to kids, well, all of these drugs that they are showing you in these shows in a comedic fashion, please do appreciate that the way that the drugs are being used in shows, treat that the same way as you look at the way that guns are used in shows. That's what I was trying to explain to him, especially also because, I believe now that 14-year-old kids have seen things like, The Wolf of Wall Street, because clips of Wolf of Wall Street end up on TikTok. So then the kids end up wanting to watch that. And similarly, it's like, it might look a lot of fun in the same way that like gunfights look fun and easy and the hero never gets shot. But that is not indicative of the reality of hard drug use. Hard drug use is extremely dangerous. Deaths, also, rarely as fun as they make it look in these shows. It was same. Oh, Your Friends and Neighbors, same thing. The John Hamm show, which again I'm enjoying. It's funny, all the shows are coming up to the end now. Anyway, just interesting. I say an interesting observation. It's not my place to say, but it's an interesting observation. It's interesting to me that. I don't recall seeing so much hard drug use in shows about ostensibly, supposedly normal people. And where's this come from? It was kind of like, how there was no smoking in shows for a long, long time. And then suddenly smoking came back with a vengeance. Is it Mad Men that brought it back? And then you've got shows. Another show I've been watching, Landman. Billy Bob Thornton, it's the Taylor Sheridan show. It's him doing for Texas what he tried to do for Yellowstone, The Place. And similarly, Billy Bob Thornton is basically smoking the entire time. Now, would that character be smoking 24/7? Probably. It's definitely, there's something quite pornographic about how, like anyone that's watched, anyone that occasionally smokes, that watches the movie. I remember watching Once Upon a Time in America with a drink in my hand, and the way that Brad Pitt smokes is so pornographically cool that you are just absolutely desperate to have one. I mean, it could. I mean, of course, it is completely plausible that the tobacco companies are actually paying Hollywood and TV companies. I mean, that could be happening. And so, what would explain the drugs thing? Are they Armenian gangsters in London paying people to put? It's just weird. It seems weird that suddenly there's been this burst of normalizing hard drug use in shows. Anyway, those were the shows. Landman is another show that I've been finding highly frustrating due to the fact that it's like the amount of. I mean, I must be getting old. Maybe I'm getting old. I am. I'm 47, right? The amount, although this was Sirens was another show that had this, and I don't know, this sounds pervy to even say it, but the amount of like, basically, Landman has a 17-year-old character in it who is constantly walking around in various states of undress, posing, pouting, arching her, but just, basically, and flirting with characters and basically flirting with the camera. I mean, and to my, again, visibly pornographic. repeated sex scenes. And it's got to the stage now that, I mean, maybe I must be, I'm fast forwarding sex scenes in shows. That is how, and again, not a prude, don't have a problem with it. It just, it's boring. I must be getting old. But also, I also find it slightly disgusting because, again, in this particular case, the character is extremely young. And similarly, in the show Sirens, same thing. Sex scenes with the girl that was in House of the Dragon. Again, I mean, I'm sure the actress must be 25, but again, looks really young. I don't want to see that. So I'm basically finding myself fast forwarding through sex scenes. Must be getting old. Anyway, it's weird, and it's weird to me, like the fact that Taylor. To me, it's pervy that Taylor Sheridan sits down and goes, right, I'm going to write a show about oil in Texas, and it's interesting because also this show is 100% not an advert for cigarettes; it's an advert for oil. I mean, there's no way that oil companies it's so kind of anti-green and pro-oil that there's like characters will just like suddenly go off on one and start delivering a speech about why oil is better for the environment than. I mean, and again, there's an owner of. Well, there's real life oil magnates in the show. But all that said, I mean, but again, I mean, it's 10 episodes, 10 hours, drags on and on and on. All of these things. I just had a text message from someone saying, again, this is one of these phishing scams. I just got a text saying, "Hey, can we go fishing together if we have time this week?" ? And it's a number 365-293-5650. I'll give the number out, whatever, because it's one of these. These are these phishing scams. You know, people they will send you a text like that, and then someone replies and goes wrong number, and then they reply and go, "Hey, how you doing?" And then you get into a chat with this person, and then they ask you for $1 million, and apparently some idiots actually hand it over. Anyway, there's a lot of shows. Oh, well, okay. There's one more show I'm going to talk about in a bit called Mobland, which again, it's funny. All of these shows that I've been watching, I have various problems with. That including one, but I know there was a question I've just seen on the list for today. I just want to say, so yesterday I was at the Southwest Business Summit at the Algonquin Resort in St. Andrews by the Sea. I was delivering what was actually supposed to be kind of hosting / coordinating a workshop. It's my first time I've done a workshop before for writers at WordSpring Book Festival last year, but this was I think I originally wrote it down as the future of doing business in New Brunswick. It did get changed, interestingly, without me knowing, to the future of doing business in Canada. But fine, I guess same difference, and I'm able to pivot. But so it's very, very exciting. I'm sure I mentioned this before, but basically last year I did the closing keynote at the Southwest Business Summit maybe it wasn't the closing keynote. No, it was the after dinner keynote at the gala dinner. Last year was the first year. It was absolutely phenomenal. I was blown away. The organisers, Charlene Hatt, Sherry Hatt. I've just realised, are you related, Charlene and Sherry? I should know that. Anyway, both absolute saints. Last year, Hannah Levitt was at the helm. Basically, everyone involved. The South Business Summit is one of the best conferences in the country that I have attended, performed at, spoken at, and I've obviously performed at hundreds, if not thousands, over the years. Everything that they do, and again, I mean, it's happening at a very, very crucial time in a very, very crucial place. Of course, very near to the border town. So last year I delivered my kind of anything is possible speech. Yesterday was supposed to be a workshop, but interestingly, which was completely fair, no one really the audience didn't really want to interact. Right? I mean, they all came and they all presumably wanted to hear from me, which is lovely. Luckily, I am able. So I had this whole workshop plan where I was going to be interacting with everyone. We were going to be talking about people's individual businesses, whether they worked in aquaculture or tourism or food and beverage or finance or medical or whatever it was. And we were going to discuss ways in which we could probably. Now, I now realize that if you are hosting a workshop this is again, I guess, a learning curve for me. If I'm, maybe I need to force it more. Maybe I need to be. But anyway, no one really wanted to interact. They were all very polite and attentive, but no one wanted to interact. So I basically had to pivot. And luckily, I mean, you know me, I'm such a stickler for meticulous planning. I was able to pivot fairly instantly on the spot to a keynote presentation about my life in business and kind of how, in essence, I've never thought of myself as a business person and never intended to become one, but simply by the matter of moving here to New Brunswick came one, because I mean, I guess ostensibly, obviously, I'm the my comedy business I have to run. Well, my wife and I run, and then of course the magazine was never part of our game plan of moving here, and that became. So I hope it was interesting. Again, anyone that was there, please reach out. There were so many lovely people in the audience. My dear friend Brianna Ganong. Again, that means a lot when, especially someone a massive titan of industry and a CEO and a president that is so admired from one of Canada's most admired companies. And again, I think this is the thing. Again, Brian and I should probably just talk about this ourselves, but I'd be fascinated to hear about how the situation across the border. And again, I mean, being the leading company in the border town, how all of this tariff nonsense does affect a company as huge as Ganong, and how does one navigate it? Again, I mean, really, this is the thing. I mean, having an idiot like me on stage, really, we should have a leader and an inspiration like Branham up there. There was one. I was lucky enough to attend another. Also, there's someone else in the audience who is Kyla, who is the new owner of Ticklebelly Hill, which interestingly, the former owner of Ticklebelly Hill, Sarah Conley, was introduced to me by Brianna. Again, everything's connected here. But I went to see the keynote speech / presentation / workshop by the founder of Lulujo. Now, many of you will know Lulujo. Incredible and proud Canadian company based in Fredericton, but global. Now, Dawn Pottier is the founder. I know Dawn, having met her briefly at shows. We have lots of mutual friends. I believe, Dawn, did you very kindly, if you're listening, I think you may have very kindly come to one of my Yips Cider shows. Did you come with Alicia and Corey? I could be making that up, or that could be correct. Things pop in my head. I should very quickly in brackets say, if you are listening and you want to come to one of the Yip Cider, I sound like I've been drinking cider as I sit here shirtless. If anyone is interested to come to one of the Yip Cider shows, the Friday the 25th of July with Ethan Ash and myself did sell out. So we had a second show on the 24th, the day before. We will be playing Hampton the following week. And I'm also playing PEI the following week. And then 2 weeks later, I will be doing an all-comedy show at the Yip Dome. Anyway, Dawn, her presentation was absolutely fascinating, inspiring, uplifting. Basically, long story short, Lulujo, so we had met, but also someone, who was it, Jen Wood? Someone wrote a beautiful feature for the Mountain Minute magazine about Lulujo a number of years ago, and I think it was definitely time for another one, an update, because they've done so many things since. Very interesting hearing how Dawn and her company has been affected by the tariffs. I did not realize quite how global they were. Basically, in 2008, Dawn was inspired by a product that she'd made for her newborn baby while on maternity leave. And essentially, going by the belief that I've always had, where if something doesn't exist that you want to exist, create it. Her thought process was, if I need this product, other mums will too. So she created and made herself muslin swaddles, blankets, and gifts. And the way that her business and brand has grown. Some of the things she talked about, which I found absolutely fascinating, was talking about experiences and how customers want experiences and how they're moving away. Lulujo is moving away as a brand from, obviously like us. They have a social media account, but they're not prioritizing it because people want face-to-face. They want experiences. They want real, tangible, physical things. It's why Lulujo has a physical bricks and mortar store where they also stock other amazing Canadian baby products. But Dawn is, an innovator, a creator, an inventor, but now literally a global business person who has built this up from having a great idea, still proudly based in Fredericton, still proudly living in Fredericton, but global, distributing everywhere, all over the Middle East. And of course, the things that the Orange Rapist is up to down south, it's causing no end of turmoil. When I hear that from businesses, it makes me feel bad about not trivializing. Obviously, as a comedian, I'm supposed to, but I sometimes do feel bad by trivializing some of the Trump stuff in my act. Something keeps popping up on my screen. Oh my God, it's Adobe. Adobe is trying to... My Adobe subscription just ran out. Does anyone here pay for the Adobe? Adobe does... There's millions... I need a drink. I don't need a drink. This is just tea, by the way, in case you're wondering. Adobe... Oh, that is strong. I'm drinking like some of that. It's like that echinacea, like... healthy tea. Anyway, there's a lot of ginger in it. Adobe, but do you use Adobe? Like I basically use it for PowerPoints, basic PowerPoints and opening and closing PDFs, right? You know how much Adobe charges a year? Over $300 for an Adobe subscription, per year. So I'm doing that thing, when you change credit cards and then suddenly you look at all the subscriptions that you got and you go, do I bother updating it or do I save money? Which are very annoying, actually, when you are a small business owner, when people do that with their magazine subscriptions. But, I'm doing this to Adobe. Fuck Adobe, forgive my language. But, don't fuck them out to edit. Support them out to edit. That's $40 a year. And you receive, 4 things, 4 times, lovingly curated, beautiful pages. Mountaineminute.com if you're interested. Adobe, point is, I've done that thing where my subscription has run out and my credit card has changed. So Adobe's bugging me, and I'm trying to see how long I can go without needing Adobe, because obviously, who wants to pay make it more reasonable. What, $350 for a normal, lowly New Brunswick comedian, human being sitting shirtless in his loft, talking into a microphone? Why should I pay? Make it $350 a year for a company, but for anyway, I don't know. But okay, let's go to your questions. Well, yes, let's go to your questions. Anyway, so it was so nice to go to St. Andrews yesterday, and today, I was about to say Sir Alan Doyle. He probably is a sir. Maybe he's not a sir. Maybe he should be. Jason Cyrus is currently on stage, no doubt ripping the roof off. World-class entertainer, hypnotist, all-round gentleman, inspiration. He is doing the morning keynote, and I believe Alan Doyle is doing the gig, doing the after-dinner thing that I did last year. Tonight, I saw Vicky Hogarth post a picture of herself with Alan Doyle in Honey Beans this morning. Anyway, I just wanted to say, so this is a very, very long and long-winded way of saying it. It was so nice to see so many... Who else was in the audience? It was, my dear friend, soon-to-be former Mayor Brad Henderson, soon-to-be where the mayor used to be. Brad Henderson, my dear friend, again, it's very kind of you both, you, Brian, and indeed everyone else that was there, to take time out of your busy schedules and come and listen to me talk, even if no one wanted to workshop with me. Maybe people just want to, maybe this is what I always find this sometimes when I do shows that are not comedy. People don't, well, it's a different thing, I suppose, but it's funny. And when I went on my book tour, there was a lot of venues thinking that I would get as many people come to book readings as come to my stand-up shows. And I had to explain that people, when they know a person for a thing, that's the thing they want them for. People want to come and see me do stand up, luckily, and some people do, some people don't, but for the most part, people do. But it's like it's like if you go to, I don't know, you go to McDonald's, you don't want Ronald McDonald doing your plumbing. Is that a good analogy? Terrible analogy. Anyway, so that was lots of fun. I mean, I guess by the time this goes out, you might have Southwest Business Summit might be over. But if not, if this episode does land today, Wednesday, 28th of May, then hot foot it to St Andrews if there's any tickets left for the gala dinner tonight, and go and see Alan Doyle. So I banged on about all the TV shows, Hacks, Sirens. My son, both of my sons, Monday night, my sons had soccer and ball hockey. But again, what gorgeous weather. Monday was my first day back on my bike. Thanks to Bikes and Beans and Quiz Pam Sis for tuning up my bike. Well, my tire kept going down, right, over and over. Anyway, they found this tiny piece of like metal inside, tiny little, looked like kind of a half a pubic hair in the tire, and it's basically in the wheel thing, whatever it's called, tube, wire, wheel. And it's basically apparently part of like a car engine battery or something that flies out of cars, and apparently it's the number one thing that causes. Anyway, they tuned up my bike, and so I was able to actually bike to the gym on Monday. That was a healthy Monday, actually. Long dog walk in a trail in the morning, YMCA, the usual, 200 cals, 200 sit-ups, 200 lengths of the pool. Then biked to Ross Athletics to see my personal trainer, Tara, and then bike back. And then watch my kids play soccer and hockey. Yeah, that's a good day. That's a good day. It was about my friends Claire and John's 20th wedding anniversary that day. Literally feels like yesterday. I remember I did their wedding video. I did a terrible job. Basically, it was like watching, I don't know if anyone knows Gogglebox, where people just talk over. It was basically just me doing a terrible, what I thought was comedic but drunken running commentary over the whole wedding. Sunday, I had the immense pleasure of driving to Harvey, Albert County Harvey, not the Harvey in Fredericton. Very confusing, I know. It's been 2 years since I've been there. Again, 2 years goes by fast. Harvey Hall was it's one of, I may have talked about this before, one of New Brunswick's oldest buildings, which makes it probably one of the oldest buildings in Canada. A lovely lady by the name of Jane has turned it into just this epic performing arts venue. Tons of people have performed there. David Miles. Big thanks to we had more people in this time. We filled it this time. Big thanks to my dear friends Christina Martin and Dale Murray who came. Dale Murray, many of you may know, may not know, is the nephew of Anne Murray, who I am desperately trying to secure for the cover of the very first Arts and Culture special edition of Edit magazine, which is the fall issue, and I'm desperate to do a cover shoot and interview with such a big Anne Murray fan, have been for many years, ever since my father-in-law introduced me to two things when I first met him 25 years ago, Anne Murray and Jimmy Flynn. And the two have been, I play Anne Murray music. In fact, Christina texted me before the show. Christina Martin, as you will know, is the award-winning and one of Canada's greatest ever singer-songwriters. Actually, interestingly, big feature on her in the next issue of the magazine, in conversation with Mike and Kristin. Mike of Town Heroes fame, and Christine Harrington of beautiful art fame, and Mike and Kristin collectively of Mike and Kristin the podcast fame. It's hard keeping up, isn't it? Are you keeping up, people? Yes, Christina texted me before the show. I was upstairs in the dressing room. The dressing room for Harvey Hall is an old schoolhouse upstairs. I mean, it's amazing being in this kind of schoolhouse. All the kind of old school chairs are still there, like the little desks and things, from like 100 years ago. And you just think of, wow, the blood that must have been shed up there for the corporal punishment for kids getting the whip back in the day. The good old days when you could discipline your kids properly. Yeah, I don't know what you think about that. I think I might have been given the whip or the slip or the something a few times back in the day. Didn't do me any harm. No, not endorsing it, but I am saying some kids need it. I did. Okay, move on. Tell me what you think about that. Some of you might disagree with that. What's my point? My point is, I'm not endorsing child abuse. Just to be clear, that's not what this podcast is about. Just in case anyone was wondering. Yes, Christina texted me. I was upstairs in the dressing room and slash schoolhouse loft, and she said, "This must be your playlist because I just heard my favorite song of hers, and Healed." And then an Amari song and mixed with Def Leppard and Poison and Oasis and Beatles. Basically, what I do is, and Tragically Hip, I basically play all my favourite songs before a show to get the audience in the mood and to get me in the mood. Again, as I hear it blasting through the speakers, it's so much fun. What a perfect Sunday. Matinee shows are the future. Left the house. Well, yeah. So the matinee shows are the future. I have a very quick EV car complaint that to hit you with, but then I'm not going to turn this into another EV car thing. But basically, here's the positive. Drove to Harvey Hall. It was raining a bit, but drove to this beautiful, part of the middle of nowhere countryside. Did a wonderful, had a super fun, 100-minute show, hour and 40. Nice standing ovation at the end. Christina Martin's in the audience. Dale Murray's in the audience. My new friend Rick, British guy, lives in Moncton, also supports Crystal Palace. He was there. Jennifer McGrath, who lives down the road, the author of The Pony and the Starling, one of my favourite children's books of all time. She also wrote another book that I love, Pugs Don't Like Crossings. I think that's right. Is that what it's called? I can't see it. I was downstairs in my son's. Pugs Don't Like Crossings. I think that's right. She also wrote another brilliant book that I read on holiday at Oceanstone. Do you ever find that where you remember where you read books? I was at Oceanstone Resort and I read Chocolate River Rescue by Jennifer McGrath. Wonderful book. Wonderful woman. Anyway, so I as you know, I just appreciate people coming out to shows. Great show. Lovely drive back. But point being, home by like 7:30, glass of wine in hand by like 7:45. I mean, I can't say further than that. However, so it was great. Matinee shows the future. That to me has been drive through beautiful Alma. My brother's coming this September. I may have mentioned this on the podcast before, this August, with his wife and daughter. Alma is one of the places we're going to take them. Anyway, it was a lovely drive, lovely gig, lovely venue, lovely people. Leave. Bit of EV car nonsense. The stupid car in the cold wasn't going to make it all the way there and back, obviously. So my plan was to stop in Sussex, where there's never anyone there charging, and I thought I'll fully charge it there, take 15-20 minutes to get to Harvey, and I'll be able to get back. I pull into Sussex and I let a car go in front of me. What are the chances? One of those sliding doors moments. There's a car in front of me. I let it go. I'm like, go, no, that thing where you go, you first, let them in. They're only a bloody electric car going to charge. They plug in. So I said politely, like, how long are you going to be? And she goes, at least an hour. That's right, they'd come empty, which again, if you're on a road trip, fine, you do what you got to do. Bloody annoying, though. Oh, also, I must say thank you to a lovely Elder who I met for the first time, who had posted on Facebook that she wanted to, very kindly said she wanted to meet me, and we did. So, Elder, thanks for coming to the show. Really nice to meet you. I appreciate you very much. Judy and Jeff from Tatamagouche, you made my day. I live for days like Sunday. Nice morning with the kids, walk the dog, watch the rookie, drive to a beautiful part of the country, do a gig, drive home, glass of wine with the wife. Happy, happy days. What elevated it was the discovery that Judy and Jeff are both subscribers to, and I believe it's fair to say, Judy and Jeff, fans of the Maritime Minute magazine, and they read about my feature on Harvey Hall in the last issue, the issue that the interview with Jane, who runs Harvey Hall. Judy and Jeff read the feature. Had, I guess, watched some of my comedy online, or maybe was it them that said they'd seen me at a dental conference a few years, about 5, 6, 7 years ago. Anyway, decided to read all this and then decided to come to the show. Drove 4 hours to Harvey Hall, and then 4 hours back. Thank you, Judy and Jeff. You are everything that I love about this region, this job, Thank you very much. What else? Okay, so I'm just going back over the other things I did. So yeah, got my bike from Bikes and Beans at the weekend. Watched lots of Ginny and Georgia with my wife. There's another problematic show. When oh my goodness, how long is it? Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I haven't got to this yet. Mission Impossible. Friday night Mission Impossible. Let's get to Mission Impossible. Thursday night I did the Centre for Youth fundraiser. Google what Centre for Youth Care are doing and have done and continue to do. Basically, their mission is simple: end youth homelessness. It should not be hard to do, right? It's one thing I think everyone can agree on. So anyway, thank you to Karen and Andrew and everyone, and my sister-in-law Judy, who's on the board there. It was a lot of fun. Trading Convention Centre, met the deputy mayor, or saw the deputy mayor of St John again, wonderful gentleman. Saw Minister Dornan, performed yet again with the amazing Cesar Suarez from the St John and the entire St John Youth Orchestra, which is such a joy. I've actually just discovered that a lovely young lady by the name of Ivy, who is in my son's class at school, who actually lives next door to me, is in the St John Youth Orchestra. I didn't know that. I've been sharing the stage all these times with my next door neighbour. So if you are listening, Ivy, or if anyone knows Ivy, please say hi. And it's always an honour to share a stage with you. So that was a lot of fun. Mission Impossible. What a great atmosphere in the cinema. The Cineplex St John. Incidentally, I should quickly point out my dear friend Julie at Cineplex St John, the joy giver, the joy bringer. Julie has been. I asked the question I think on the podcast. Julie has pointed out. Someone asked me on this podcast a few weeks back. Could I choose between a poutine? What would I choose, poutine or donair? Julie's answer, she's a very smart one. It is donair poutine, absolutely spot on. And donair poutine is absolutely delicious. So yeah, why not have all the goodness together? I agree. I had a question of how long Julie has been at Cineplex. She has been serving the people of St. John global entertainment and general awesomeness for, I shit you not, 30 years. She started scooping popcorn at the Paramount Theatre uptown when she was in grade 12. God bless you, Julie. Thanks for being what I mean. Literally, like when I was a kid, that was my dream, to work in the cinema, be around movies. I mean, I don't even again. I guess so. Would there have been? This is a question for you, Julie. Would there have been projector film back then? I'm guessing now it's all digital. How does it come? How did the films come? How do they prevent piracy if they are being sent like are they sending you a digital file that is then projected through the projector? Were you there in the old days of the reels when the reels were being loaded in? Okay, I've got lots of questions to go through. Anyway, so happy 30th, Julie. Mission Impossible, a great atmosphere there was in the cinema, absolutely packed, oohs and gasps. I will say this one was a bit earnest, so much so that the last one, which was called Dead Reckoning Part 1, and now they've dropped the Part 1. Now they decided to not call this Part 2, possibly because they call it the Final Reckoning, because they probably realised it would be terrible. Not very good marketing to release a movie called Part 2, because it would just make people think, oh, well, I haven't seen Part 1, so I can't see Part 2. And you don't need to have seen Part 1 to see Part 2. But if you have seen all the Mission Impossible movies, then this one definitely, there's numerous callbacks that are, and references to, so weird to think that I remember going to see the very first Mission Impossible at the cinema at Wickham 6 in High Wycombe in 96. I remember going to see was John Woo one, the second one. It's weird. Like Mission Impossible is this thing that's been kind of through all of our lives. I remember watching Ghost Protocol on Blu-ray, purchased in an Asda in 2011. Hunter was 1 year old, and me and Pam were staying at my parents. My parents rent a cottage every year in a place called the Lizard in Cornwall, and we went to Asda and bought Ghost Protocol on Blu-ray. And my dad made us turn it off halfway through so he could watch Casualty on BBC One. Why do you remember things like that? So it's funny how this franchise has been kind of permeates all of my lots of these formative memories. I believe I do remember who I was on a date with when I went to see the first one, but I better check it before I say it. I do have a message actually here from Kai Lucas asking me to do a shout out for he does fundraiser shows, Bad Words for a Good Cause. They're doing a show in support of in support of people with Crohn's and colitis on June the 6th at Wasted Day. Wasted Day is a beautiful, but owned by the owners of Long Bay on the St. John Water Street on the waterfront. 4 headliners in one show. Matt Keenan, his new album will be available to buy. Shane Ogden, Ryan Whittaker, and Jeff Pennell. That is a stacked lineup. But if you are looking to see quality New Brunswick comedy, I have to tell you, Matt Keenan, Shane Ogden, Ryan Whittaker, and Jeff Pennell are 4 of the best. It's only $15 a ticket. $5 for every ticket goes to Crohn's and Colitis Canada, the NB New Brunswick chapter. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Follow Kai Lucas. I realised I've got to go to Monkton very shortly, so I've been rambling away. Mission Impossible, very good, stupidly long. Tom Cruise does look a bit weird now. Again, it's weird looking at someone with a full head of hair when you know it's all been transported from their anus or their back onto their head, or has been chopped off a horse and put on them. And his face is kind of looking bloated with all the filler or whatever it is he's doing to look this young. By all means, obviously, stay healthy. I mean, I can't. Yeah, the geezer's in his 60s, hanging off planes. Hats off, mate. It was absolutely brilliant. It was proper, pure cinematic entertainment. I also think I really enjoyed it more because it was the first Mission Impossible I've seen in a while. I think I watched sober, so that was nice. So yeah, well worth watching. Okay. Bet Miles, well, he sent me, I apologize actually if you wanted this to be private. Was I glued to the TV yesterday? How did the king do? Well, I did make my views about the monarchy I shared last week. I will say that the king came to Canada, so thanks, and good on you for that. You made lots of Canadians very happy yesterday, said things that they wanted to hear, and when we're currently in a situation where people aren't speaking up against the deplorable things that are being said and done to Canada, to have anyone speak up, when you got people like Ryan Reynolds not saying anything, for the king to come in and say that, great. How about my feelings about Charles and Camilla? Well, I shared them on last week's podcast, but bottom line is, right now, a couple travelled from England to Canada and made lots of Canadians happy and said some things that are lovely about this country that I agree with, so I stand by that. I commend that. Your question: Air Canada's strict rule on service dogs in cabin. They don't accept virtual or online video training of service dogs. Who doesn't communicate or learn virtually these days? American Air Canada. Yeah, I mean, to hear Air Canada are behind on something is not the biggest surprise. Oh, I should point out, Ben Champeau is one of the best photographers out there. He captured Centre for Youth last week. He and his partner Heba have opened Saphir, which is a Moroccan hammam and spa, the first in Canada, east of Montreal. That is in Moncton, and you should check that out. Okay, I'm going to go to questions. Karen Turpin, what made me get into comedy? Karen, I don't want to bore other listeners with this because I have talked about this a lot, and it is also in my book, which I will send you a Spotify link to. I always wanted to do it growing up. And it was a trip to St. John, New Brunswick, to see my wife's family. I went to a dinner theatre in Water Street Dinner Theatre, Steamers, Water Street Dinner Theatre on Water Street on the 31st of December, 2004. And it gave me the impetus. I thought, if these people if these amazing performers can get up on these stages and wow people and make them sing, dance, laugh, clap, while also delivering delicious food and drink to us, then I have no excuse to not try stand up. So I did. And that's how I started out. Charmaine Cap, do I mind June bugs? You know what, Charmaine? I mean, I don't love June bugs, obviously. I mean, anyone that saw me at the Sussex Drive-In gig during COVID, my entire back was a wall of June bugs. I mean, I detest June bugs, to be honest, but I do like anything that means summer. So I don't know why I said it like summer. So you know what, like, you know when you get bitten to buggery by mosquitoes and the next morning your legs are just like caked in blood. I actually like that because it means I've been out in the sun. Favorite accent? The Canadian one, of course, I love, but really my favorite is like is like Danny Dyer, East London Cockney accents. I absolutely love. David Kirkpatrick, where would you rank The Sopranos as an all-time as a series? How do you feel Mobland stacks up? Excellent question, David Kirkpatrick. It also says top fan there. I'm a top fan of yours too, my friend. Mobland, I just watched the ninth episode this morning. Obviously, there's a 10th episode coming next week. I did find the episode quite exciting, and I couldn't take my eyes off it, and it's thrilling. I do also think that it is garbage, I have to say. Where do I think Sopranos stacks up as all-time series? Number 1 or 2. Sopranos is the show I've watched the most times. What I think I dislike about all these shows I'm talking about that I'm watching right now, whether it be the Hacks, the Sirens, the Mobland, none of it's convincing. At no point do you think you're actually watching real comedians or gangsters or villains or whatever the show is, or oil men. You're watching Billy Bob Thornton and Ali Larter in Landman, act out. You're watching people, act out Taylor Sheridan's wank fantasy. That's what you're watching. When you watch The Sopranos, you genuinely felt like you were a fly on the wall inside a mob, club, or in Tony's house. You felt fear. You felt excitement. You felt tension. Sopranos. Phenomenal. I do not like the ending. I've read every book about it. I've read every justification from David Chase as the ending. I still think it's a cop out. I get it. We all get it, David. He got shot. He goes to black. We get it. Not clever at all. I'm not ranting at you, David. I'm ranting at David Chase. I don't think it's clever. It's like, he says over and over, well, when you get shot, it goes to black, and then suddenly it goes to black. Oh, it means he got shot. Lame. I sound like Ricky Gervais there. But I think Mobland is just absolute nonsense. I going through the list of things, I'm not convinced by Tom Hardy's whisper acting. Nothing rings true. They're not doing any. Real gangsters aren't just spending all their time just basically blowing each other up and killing each other. They're busy making money. Where is this? Where's the business? Where's the drug dealing? Where's the prostitution? Where's the racketeering? Where's the extortion? Where are they actually making the money? They're just constantly talking back and forth. The terrible accents. I mean, Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren. Watching Helen Mirren's acting is so bad that it makes you think, what happened? And it should be the best show ever. Ronan Bennett, creator of Top Boy, one of the greatest TV shows of all time. That is in my top five greatest shows. The greatest TV show of all time, by the way, is The Sopranos. Number 2 greatest TV show of all time is Breaking Bad. Top Boy is in the top 5, and Ronan Bennett is the creator and writer of that, and he's the writer of Mobland. He wrote it with Jez Butterworth, who is the author of Jerusalem, the greatest London stage play of all time. It is produced by Guy Ritchie, creator of some of the greatest British gangster movies of all time, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. I even like Rock and Roller. The Gentleman is a great series. The Gentleman is a great film. How the hell, Tom Hardy is a great actor. The cast is full of great actors. How the hell does it feel like a bloody soap opera? It's Days of Our Lives goes crime. Even the name Mobland is a terrible name. It's actually, I have a straight-to-video movie, I believe, starring David Arquette about that mafia meeting, about the cops who chanced across that mafia meeting when all the mob bosses from across America met in Appalachia. Is that right? I just realised I have got to leave, drive to Moncton to get on the plane. Michael Lynch has asked, maybe you didn't have this because you went to a posh school, but English school dinners, do you remember chocolate concrete? That's what we used to call it, or semolina tapioca, or any of the other awful offerings. I'm not sure what kids here get. Yes, Michael, I do remember those awful school dinners. I mean, absolute Or like you would get these like lemon curd things, or just like this kind of wobbly jelly thing that looked like something out of the Willy Wonka, but tasted like something like that you would line a garage with. Absolutely minging. Bev, what is my opinion on the Royals' visit to Canada? I did just cover that, but my opinion is as I said, it made Canadians happy, so it's a good thing. But unfortunately, what Charles and Camilla did to Diana is something that I will not forgive, nor is what they did to Prince Andrew's victims. Which again, I know everyone gets very upset when you even mention that, but it's like, well, it happened. And tragically, Prince Andrew's one of his underage victims, as many of you know, killed herself a few weeks ago. The same one who, again, not but who the Queen paid off, paid the $12 million bill to. So, Jonathan Nesbitt, mate, work your magic and pull some strings with Apple for me. I'm locked out of my iTunes. Regaining access is so painful. I'm pulling my remaining hair out. Jonathan Nesbitt, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. Apple, pull your fingers out and get Jonathan's iTunes working again. It shouldn't be that hard. This didn't used to happen with CD and record collections, so don't force us all to use your digital garbage bullshit, whatever, corrupt, evil scam that involves paying artists nothing and then lock people out. Thomas Smith, ever think about putting on a show where Zella's used to be? Many, many times, mate. I would absolutely love to. If you know of a way to make that happen, I would kill to do a show in any form at Zella's building. Teresa Plasajska, my beloved aunt, have a safe journey, dearest, and a splendid time in Blackpool seeing Roy Chubby Brown. Delighted I will at least be listening to you while you're so near but impossibly far. Teresa and Daisy. Give Daisy a kiss from me, and I will give one to Willow from you. Thank you, Auntie T. Without further ado, I should go. What a wonderful way to end with my dear aunt, who was there for me and possibly even introduced me to this. One of the first times I saw Chubby Brown on video was with Auntie T, and I'm gonna anyway. I've got to go. Thank you all for listening. Thanks everyone for everything. I talked about your friends and neighbours. Basically, the takeaway from the show is there's too many drugs in shows. There's too much sex in shows. I'm clearly becoming an old man. And by the way, thanks to everyone who I had no idea how many people had the same thought as me regarding the Ryan Reynolds, Tim Hortons ads. Just to clarify, as you know, I love Tim Hortons. Also don't have any ill feeling towards Ryan Reynolds. However, with everything going on in the world, given Ryan Reynolds hasn't said a single thing in support of Canada amongst all of this, I personally believe that Tim Hortons, rather than giving all their millions of dollars that we give them to I know he's Canadian, but he lives in America, he pays tax in America. So rather than giving all that money, so the 50% of that would have gone to the American government, which means to Trump. So Tim Hortons sent millions of dollars to Donald Trump to pay Ryan Reynolds to endorse a disgusting looking, it's actually quite tasty, egg breakfast, which I eat on almost a daily basis, but Ryan Reynolds has never eaten. I'm not gunning for an endorsement deal myself. I would take one and I would love one because I eat and drink Tim Hortons every single day. I'm a fan. I'm a supporter. I'm an ambassador, but I'm not paid. Don't pay people like Ryan Reynolds who don't actually eat your products, who live in a different country, who pay tax to Donald Trump and also won't speak up against Donald Trump. That's my advice to you, Tim. Give it to, I know, Sydney. You got Sydney on board. You could have given this gig to anyone. Jan Arden. If you want, but I'm saying I'm available. Okay, everyone, have a great week. When I next time I speak to you, I will I think I'll be back here. I'll be back here this time next week. Lots of love. Appreciate everything. And that's it. Email me if you've got any questions. comedy@jamesmanager.com. When I'm back, I have 6 gigs in a row. I land and then straight into it. 4 shows with Ali Hassan at the St. David's Company, then a corporate gig in Fredericton, and then I'm playing the Cornhill Nursery in support of the Sussex Arts Centre on the Saturday, the 14th of June. So anyway, see you all soon. Thanks a lot. Lots of love. Bye.
Manager's Weekly Ramble.